Now, do I got sound out there now? Now, do I got sound out there now? Oh, yes, we do. Okay. Remember, you're at risk for exposure for outside working a lot. If we're outdoors, it's best to use sunscreen quite a bit throughout this time. And our peak hours for sunburn are that 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we should use sunscreen. You know, they make all kinds of PF factors and all that good stuff. But you should use it every 2 hours. That way it protects your skin. Some of our safety topics I want to talk a little bit about. UV safety, yes, it's important, but it's kind of short and sweet. But remember, we have 2 safety topics out there. Ours, we want to talk about traffic awareness. Shell is talking about PPE. And once again, the PPE is a very easy topic. Wear what you're supposed to. It's your last line of defense. If you paid attention to the Chesapeake orientation, they talked about what? Impact gloves on everything. But once you got into it a little bit, it talked about the glove designed for the tasks that we do. And ours are chemical resistant and all that stuff for the xylene, the oils, that kind of thing. And they're totally fine with that. They only want impact gloves if you're swinging hammers, building iron, that kind of stuff. Otherwise, the specific glove for the specific job done. Traffic awareness. Last night coming home, there's a heck of a grinder on I-25 that had it all necked down to one lane where a ladder fell out and somebody swerved. And then, of course, nobody's doing the Smith driving looking ahead and sees brake lights, and they rear in the car. And it was a mess. Took out the whole back seat and everything, took to the hospital, that sort of thing. We want to look ahead. Think about your Smith driving rules. Minimum of 15 seconds ahead of you. It varies by the speed you're going. In-town speeds at 30, 40. You might only have a block and a half. Highway speeds, you're looking ahead 3/4 of a mile to a mile for hazards coming at you. Because we get hazards like that coming into a location. Think about those guys. They hate everybody, especially if they're yearlings. This driver called Gilby, said, what am I supposed to do now? Yeah, those are buffalo, and they do hate everybody, especially if they're yearlings. They can be very aggressive, or they might not give a darn, but they change in an instant. So something like that, I'd contact dispatch. You don't want to open that gate, go through there, close the gate, and have to get back in there because you're going to be on the other side of that cattle guard. It's not worth it. Those guys, when one gets mad, they all get mad.
That dispatch told us to switch his stick at them.
Yeah, those guys, when they
Probably
get
not a good idea.
No.
Dispatch to tell them to do that.
Yeah, you get one mad, as I said, all of those
So
buff.
what should we have done in that instance?
Well, me myself rejected for location inaccessible. Probably would have got the hell out of there.
Could have also seen if maybe there was somebody else in the area that you could have pulled through and they could have closed the gate behind you.
Good if you might encounter those guys on the location too, because those
It's kind of in the middle of it's hard to call it. Not fair.
because those buffalo cattle guard are double the size of a regular cattle guard, and those guys they might go across a standard cattle guard. Just depends on how mad they are. And barbed wire fences don't really affect them very much. This was today on Highway 59, talking about traffic awareness. For those that were out there early morning, sun up time, how foggy it was everywhere up there.
Last night wasn't much better.
This is some great defensive driving because he sees the hazard, although there was still a collision. Everybody was safe out of it. He hits him and keeps trucking. Doesn't even stop. Now, he hit him on the rear end, took out his mud flap, and that marker light on the side, or his ABS light on the side of the bumper, that's gone. Pretty minimal damage to him, but some substantial damage to that little car. But even though it was foggy, he saw the hazard coming and got it over. Had he not been looking ahead, that was probably a head-on. And then for the guy not to even stop, we played that thing and stopped it and paused it. There's no front license plates on the car. All you can see on the rearview mirror is a handicap placard. Oh, some of the stuff the shop wanted to talk about, as well as Brian, because Brian puts his Samsara stuff in here. You got to certify your logs to make them a legal log. Even if you're in violation, you have to certify that log. We can't correct it or help you as long as it's not certified. The only way we can help you or fix things, if we can't falsify hours and things like that. But if there's truly a mistake, we can't do nothing for you as long as it's hanging out there in La La Land. It's got to be certified. If you get stopped with uncertified logs, that is a huge, huge issue with a trooper. Same with the unassigned driving miles. Remember, we talked about that before. If you have unassigned mileage and that little window pops up that says this vehicle has unassigned hours of service, from your log screen that has your hours of service clocks, go up to the little settings or the wrench and click on that. At the very top, it'll say accept driving mileage. Click on that. You can mark them all and decline them. You're perfectly fine. It's up to us to put those miles where they belong, unless they truly are yours for some reason. But we would rather have you decline those, because they will write you up for failing to accept or decline. I don't care if you decline them. That's what we want you to do. DVIRs. When you're filling out DVIRs, you guys are doing a good job, but you can take that tablet out, take pictures, and attach them to your DVIR. It's really simple. You can carry that tablet all the way around the truck, take pictures, attach it to the DVIR. The shop is really asking you to start doing that on things. So they have a clear picture of what's broken or what's wrong with it, and they can already start getting parts for it with that picture. It also protects you with stuff that you've got a picture of it that was broken when you started your shift, and then at the end of your shift, something happens and the next guy says, well, it wasn't documented. You can say, the heck it wasn't. Look at the picture in my DVIR. It's right there.
Does everybody know how to use the picture feature?
If not, we'll show you real fast how to do it. You sign in, Gilby? Yeah, Gilby's going to bring up on the screen how to take the pictures on Samsara, and you'll see it on the screen here.
It's on the wrong screen. So when you're in your DVIR, you can go to the Add Remove Defects. You can say it's tires. You can click on the select a photo. You can either take it out of your library, or you can just take a new photo. And you got a bad tire right there. Click on Use Photo. Sometimes, what the mechanics actually call a part and what you call a part might be different. So sometimes having that picture in there will help them understand what you're talking about.
And that is why they're asking you to use the pictures, because some of the terminology that they're used to and some of the stuff the drivers put down doesn't quite make sense. So if you got the picture, they usually say, we know exactly what they're talking about. And it's great documentation to have it in there. Also on the DVIRs, if you're calling a vehicle unsafe, don't select the option of other and just call it unsafe. With no documentation, put what's wrong with it. They can't read your mind on why you're marking this truck unsafe. And it's happened quite a bit here lately. And they don't have time to go from bumper to bumper to find out what's unsafe. They want to get your truck back up and running. So be descriptive in there. Take a picture of it. Tell them what it is so they can get right on it, instead of trying to troubleshoot everything on this truck to find out what's defective. Especially during the cold weather, we had a lot of idle time. Trucks being started, so they're nice and warm when you start your shift. But they'll sit out there and idle for an hour, 2 hours, things like that, at a low idle. It's causing the oil to slobber in there, out the turbo. The exhaust manifolds are starting to leak oil. They're going to start putting the idle timers on them. That'll shut them off after 5 minutes. If you have a truck that's derating itself and you come into the shop and say, hey, it's giving me the warning that it's going to derate, don't park it out behind the shop and just let it run, because it might be an hour before they get out to it, and then it's probably gone into that stage 4 problem. But now you got to have Cummins come out and take care of the stuff. Shut it off if that's the case. But they are going to start using idle time on them. If there's a reason you have to have it idling, bump it up to at least high idle, 1,000 RPM, 900 to 1,000, what that first hit is on your PTO or on your cruise control. It stops that turbo from leaking so much oil and out the exhaust manifolds and all that. And look at the oil blow by on your exhaust stacks that have stacks. It just saves a lot of wear and tear and heartache on the engines, especially if you have a cat engine in there. If it's idling like that, you need to bump up. The buckets come in with rocks and dirt and that kind of stuff. You can put that in the dumpster. Unless it's 85 buckets, then talk to the shop lead. But if you have a bucket or so, it can go in the dumpster. It's absorbed into that dirt. It can be disposed of. Rags, super oily, that kind of stuff, put in that hazmat box that they get rid of. If you have buckets of oil or unknown liquids, don't just leave them out on the aprons out front of the shop. Those got to go inside, and you got to tell somebody what you got in there. Because it depends on what it is how they have to dispose of it. And that can get really expensive really quick trying to figure out what's in a bucket. And you just can't go into the wash bay and pour it down the drain. Because if they do randomly come and test those drains to see what's gone down them. And if there's things like crude oil, antifreezes, transmission fluid that have gone down there in large quantities, they'll know it. And they can take away our ability to put anything down the drain. To include the bathrooms in this building. So don't dump anything down that drain. It's not meant to go down the drain. Yes, they can use the acid wash in there, because when it hits water, it goes to a pH of 7, which is neutral, and it's citric acid like you would use in canning. It's just a higher concentration. It's liquid form. But once water hits it, it goes neutral, so it's acceptable to go down the storm drain. Texas Crude, they're still cruising right along with WPX down there, doing rather well. Water's still right out about, 8,500 to 9,000 barrels a day. And that's not including their service work. They're doing a lot more service work and all kind of weird transfer water here, transfer there. And crude, you're still averaging, Gilby, about 54?
It's over 53, so we even had our May 1st was a slow day for us. We only did 47, but we've been over 54 every day since. So.
And remember, this time is kind of the slow time of the year with things. All the producers are working on shit and trying to get it up to snuff for that midsummer and fall and into the winter push where they want everything out. Just take a look at how many workover rigs you see out there doing work on stuff. So remember last year, it kind of slowed down. But boy, when June hit, it was a barn burner. So just keep that in mind. It's that time of the year. Some of the operation stuff we want to talk about. If you're pulling 2 loads from the same battery, one that comes to mind is the State 1416, for example. And you got 2 tanks out there. And you get there and you do your tank work on both of them. Make sure whatever process you use, if you do both tanks and grind out and whatever, that you're doing it proper, your API, so you can get both tanks, right? And then you're going to come back and you're going to hook and pull your second load and go. Double check to make sure that hadn't been dispatched to somebody else, because we had one the other day, he had 2. By the time he delivered one, went back to get a second, another truck had been dispatched to it and pulled his second load. And he didn't bother. Okay, I've done all my tank work. I know I'm good. At least walk by and thump the tank. If it sounds hollow, we better get up top and check. So he popped the seal, and there's no oil that he'd already done the tank work on. Those things happen, but verify stuff before you just pop seals and get things ready to go. 4-gas monitors. If you don't have a 4-gas monitor yet, come see Sierra, myself, or Kim's available. Waterside, Ed Brownrig has 4-gas. He's getting those to everybody. Tow outs. If you have to be towed out, you call into dispatch, say, I'm stuck, I need a wrecker. Let them know who you are, where you are, if you're a leaser, any of that, because we're having problems, and it's a headache for Gilby when these tow bills come in and there's no information as to who, what, where, when, why, how. Because the wrecker companies are pretty good about putting all that on there. But then they're trying to match up tow bills with stuck trucks. It gets to be a real pain to figure out where those go. So when you call into dispatch and let them know you're stuck and you're going to need a wrecker.
We had several bad days where we were getting stuck left and right out there, and we had our supervisors were out there that were helping. Even if the supervisor arrives, make sure you let dispatch know. I got about $30,000 worth of tow bills for the last month and a half, and some of them I can't match up to a truck that was towed out, so it didn't get put on our stuck truck report. The towing company never put any vehicle numbers or names. I know some of them belong to leasers. I can't match them, and it makes it hard for my accounting department to say to allow them to pay it if I can't tell them who it was for and what truck we can assign it to. So anytime you're stuck, got to be towed out by a blade even. These blade companies are sending us bills. I did not know that at first, especially when I didn't even call them. Wold called them. $2,500 for a tow out if Wold calls a blade. So we talked to them on part of this. If you get stuck on Wold property and they got a blade close by, they will come pull you out and we won't get charged. If you don't have chains on and they got a blade close by, they will pull you out and we'll get charged $1,500. So please make sure if you're in those locations where it's looking bad, be chained up.
And last thing, if you're a vet, please see Sarah or myself. I got some of the forms. There's some paperwork HR needs that if you're a veteran, that they have some stuff for you to fill out. Take you about 2 minutes. Kim, you got anything?
A couple things. First off, fuel cards. Anything that you guys use your com data cards for, you have to turn the receipts in. There's been rumors floating around that you don't have to turn them in for fuel. That is not correct. One of the main reasons for that is some of these stations aren't sending it through as fuel when we get the reports on it. So we just get a thing saying it's grocery. And we have no receipt to back it. So anytime you guys use your com data cards, you need to be submitting your receipts. We need to be able to track all of those. I think that there's some out there, somebody's buying $320 worth of something at a fuel station. I'm pretty sure it's fuel, but we have no receipt to back it, and it was rang up under groceries. So how are we to prove whether you bought fuel or whether you bought groceries if you did not turn in a fuel receipt? So CYA, turn in every single one of your fuel receipts.
And you better add to that, don't let them give you one out of the cash register. Make them print it off on a big printer because you don't have a cash register to register groceries.
If it says groceries on there and that's what you're turning in to me, it needs to be a fuel receipt.
If you guys are at a location that's closed at night and use a card and it doesn't print out a receipt, snap a picture of your gallons and dollars.
Because you have the time, you have the price, you have the gallons, you have the total. Snap a picture of it, text it to me, and that will suffice for that time.
On documents in San Sarah.
Could, but nobody's
Nobody's
not looking at
gonna-
those.
It shouldn't happen that often, but just send me a text message and let me know that this happened, this date and time, and that way we can match it up with the problem.
Question online. Leasers running our fuel cards, receipts
They
also?
can do whatever they want with their receipts. They're paying for it no matter what.
Okay.
But if you're a leaser and you haven't been charged for fuel in a couple settlements, please reach out to us.
Because we will find out.
That answer your question, Gary?
Leasers, keep your receipts. Those are yours to match up when you get your settlements. Did you talk about the Texas fundraiser?
No, I did not.
So we're still trying to help raise funds for Mary down there for their fundraiser. David passed the envelope to me because he's lucky and going on vacation tomorrow. So if anybody has anything that they want to add for that, they're helping out the animal shelter down there in Texas. So if you have anything, a couple bucks, no bucks, whatever you have, come and see me. We're sending it all, planning on sending it to by Friday. So by close of business Friday, you can come see me for that. Also, Sarah sent out a thing in your guys's, or in the Sam Sarah notes that we send out weekly about the committee that we're trying to get going. That is, I don't know, it doesn't have an official title, but it's kind of like an employee fund. So we're trying to do certain things like 50-50 raffles to help earn money. So if something happens with one of our employees, we can help them out. You know, we had an employee that was off work for 3 months because of a medical issue. First night back to work, his tire blew and trying to get to work. So, you know, that'd be something that we can help an employee out when something like that happens. Just some ideas. We're looking for some people that want to be on the committee. It's going to meet once a month. So if anybody's interested in that, you can see myself or Sarah. I think we only have 2 employees that have volunteered to be on it so far. But yeah, just helping out Not that you have to do anything other than coming up with the ideas and putting those out to people. So, once a month. That's all I got.
Well, Donna, anything at all?
No, I'm good.
I got one other thing.
We're just really good turning our paperwork in. Payroll, I think it's very good. If you have any issues tonight, come downstairs, see me before you leave, so we can get it effective before tomorrow morning.
Gilly?
So Alan still is aggressively trying to make sure that we're upgrading our equipment. Kyle and I just brought 4 trucks back down here. 2 of them are going to water, 2 of them are going to crude. We got more water trailers on their way, more trucks that will be coming in throughout the year. But I've had a couple drivers come in and, kind of talk to Kyle about, the next double bottoms that are coming in, and I want that, and then I want to work days. Just to be clear, right now, I do not have any double bottoms on the way. There could be some in the future, but just to stop any scuttlebutt about the double bottoms, I do not have any on order at this time. But there are other new trucks coming, and some drivers will have the opportunity to step into those.
Oh, one other thing I think we should mention too. If you are missing stuff out of your trucks, don't take it from other trucks. Go see the people, get it issued to you. If you're missing a thief, hydrometers, whatever, go get it proper. We've had a couple instances where our owner ops are missing things out of their toolbox. They have to buy their own stuff, so now you are just blatantly stealing it from them because they just can't come in and ask for a new one.
We're not only, we had one leaser, one owner-operator had his kit stolen twice. I'm not going to use the word stolen, but removed from his truck twice. And then he has to go buy his own. But our supervisor pickups have been getting kits missing out of them. I know some of you guys might lose a thief, broke. Maybe you're afraid to bring it up. You're afraid to get in trouble. If you guys have a reason for losing a tool, come to us. We will replace it. I know Sean down in the shop will be like, where's your old one? If you drop a thief in a tank, I'm not expecting you to have the old one to give to her. I know there's probably about 40 tanks out there that got our thieves in them right now. About 20 up in North Dakota and 3 of them down in Texas. So, it happens. But, just be honest. Come up to us. Please don't take them off other vehicles. We're pretty strenuous on you guys check that stuff during your pre-trip. Well, sometimes you forget. And now you're 110 miles away and you can't buy your oil. So, we'll work with you. If you lose or break something, come to us. We'll work with you.
Any questions, any of you guys, or anything?
No, thank you for bringing that up. That's my second thief, and this is the first time in 9 years that I've had to put exterior locks on my toolboxes. And do it in Prairie's yard is pretty bad. So.
Yeah, Fred just commented here. Fittings too. Don't take fittings off of trucks. Just anything. Off of personal vehicles, off of company trucks. Don't take stuff. Let's just get it done proper. But if that's all anybody has, any questions online at all before we call it a night, since it's raining like cats and dogs right now? Well, thanks everybody for attending.